The storm had not stopped echoing in her mind. Olivia Grant, polished and untouchable in the eyes of the world, couldn't forget the stranger who had pulled her out of death's path and then walked away without leaving even a name. Days later, she sat in her glass-walled office on the 60th floor, staring out at the city she owned but no longer felt connected to. Meetings droned on, assistants shuffled papers, and deals worth millions crossed her desk, but her thoughts stayed locked on the man in the rain. The way his arms had held her, strong but fleeting, as if he carried a world of pain that would not allow him to linger. Who was he? Her security team called it luck. Her board of directors called it a distraction. But Olivia called it fate. She returned to the street where it happened, walking in the rain again, scanning the shadows. And that was when she saw him. Not in a suit, not in polished shoes, but in worn jeans and a faded jacket, pushing a grocery cart with a small boy asleep inside. Her heart jolted. It was him. The stranger. The man who vanished. He froze when he saw her. His jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he might run again. But the little boy stirred, rubbed his eyes, and whispered, "Daddy?" Olivia's breath caught. He wasn't just a stranger. He was a father, and suddenly her world, her wealth, her power, her loneliness collided with his in a way that would change everything. His first instinct was to shield the boy, to step back into the shadows where powerful people like her never looked twice. But Olivia's eyes, wide, unguarded, followed him with a softness he hadn't seen in years. "Wait," she said gently, her voice stripped of the authority that usually made men tremble. "I know you." "You saved me." He shifted the cart closer to his side, rain dripping from his hair. "Wasn't anything," he muttered. His voice was the same, low, rough, carrying that hidden ache she couldn't shake. Her gaze slipped to the boy, now fully awake and blinking up at her. "Daddy?" the child whispered again, clinging to the man's jacket. The word cut straight through Olivia, leaving her rooted to the spot. "You should go back to your world, Miss Grant," he said firmly. "Ours is nothing like yours," but she couldn't move. She had met plenty of men in her life, investors, politicians, suitors who courted her fortune. But none had walked away from her without wanting something. None had carried such loneliness in their eyes. "What's your name?" she asked softly. He hesitated. For a moment, rain and silence stretched between them. Then he whispered, almost reluctantly, "Daniel. Daniel." A single father, surviving with so little. Yet he had risked his life for her without asking for anything in return. Her world tilted. For the first time, Olivia realized she didn't just want to thank him. She wanted to understand him. But Daniel, holding his boy close, turned away as if vanishing again was the only way to survive. And Olivia, watching him disappear into the night for the second time, knew she could not let him go this time. The city never truly slept, but Daniel moved through it like a ghost. He rose before dawn, fixed what needed fixing for the landlord who gave him a break on rent, then hauled his boy through the day with scraps of work that barely covered supper. He had learned long ago to keep his head down. Men like him weren't meant to be seen by women like her, but Olivia Grant did not forget. Her world of penthouses and polished glass towers seemed to mock her every time she thought of him. Daniel, a man who had nothing, yet had risked everything. She could still see the fear in his boy's eyes, the way those little hands clutched his father's jacket, and she could still feel the sharp, unshakable truth. He had vanished once. She wouldn't let him vanish again, so she went looking. Her driver protested when she asked to stop in neighborhoods her family warned her never to enter. She dismissed him. Her heels cracked against the broken sidewalks, her silk coat out of place against the gray. People watched, curious, suspicious. She kept walking. She asked questions quietly, at markets, near repair shops, in the corners of streets where men loitered and boys kicked stones. A tall man with a little boy, she would say. His name is Daniel. Most shook their heads. A few looked away. But then one old shopkeeper squinted and muttered, "Try the old brick building off 7th. He fixes what's broke. Keeps to himself." Her heart raced. That night, as rain smeared the streetlights, Olivia found the building. Cracked windows, rusted gate, and behind it a glow, a single lamp burning in a window. She stepped closer, heels splashing in puddles, and through the glass she saw him, Daniel, bent over a table, sleeves rolled, hands steady as he mended something broken. His boy asleep on a cot in the corner. It should have been enough just to see him alive. But her hand lifted, almost against her will, and knocked on the door. Inside, Daniel froze. The sound was small, but it cut through him like a shot. No one came to visit. No one ever knocked. He opened the door, and when he saw her, drenched in rain, eyes searching his chest tightened. "You shouldn't be here," he said gruffly. "Neither should you," she whispered back. And for a moment, the rain, the city, the whole world fell silent between them. Daniel wanted to shut the door. His whole life had been about keeping danger out, and Olivia Grant, drenched in rain and fire-eyed, was more dangerous than any blade or bullet. But her hand stopped the door from closing. "I just wanted to thank you," she said, breathless, her hair sticking to her cheeks. "For saving me." "For not walking away?" His jaw tightened. "I should have walked away." Her eyes flicked past him, toward the boy curled on the cot. "And left him without a father?" she whispered. Daniel's throat worked, but no words came. The boy stirred, then sat up, rubbing his eyes. When he saw Olivia, his small voice cut the silence. "Is she our friend Daddy?" The question landed like a blow. Daniel had no answer, but Olivia crouched down, her expensive coat pooling on the dusty floor. "Yes," she said softly. "If you'll let me be." The boy blinked, then gave a shy nod before lying back down. Daniel's chest felt like it might cave in. This woman didn't belong in his world, yet here she was, speaking to his son like he mattered, like they weren't invisible. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice low, almost broken. She met his gaze. "Because for once in my life, someone saved me without wanting anything in return. And I can't just go back to pretending people like you don't exist." For a long moment, neither moved. Rain drummed against the roof, thunder rolling far away. Daniel's calloused hands gripped the doorframe. Her fingers trembled, but she didn't step back. Something inside him, something buried for years, shifted, and for the first time since his wife's death, Daniel let someone stand in the doorway of his life without shutting them out. The storm had passed by morning, but its weight still hung in the air. Daniel stood outside the building, shoulders squared against the grey dawn, while Olivia watched him from the doorway. His boy clung to his leg, still half asleep, clutching the edge of Daniel's worn coat. "You don't belong here," he said quietly. "And you don't belong hidden," she answered. The words were simple, but they cut deep. For years, he had believed his place was in the shadows, scraping by, unseen. But Olivia, her presence, her stubbornness, her gentle way with his son, was unraveling everything he thought he knew about survival. She stepped closer, slipping off her silk scarf and wrapping it gently around the boy's neck. "He deserves more," she whispered. "And so do you." Daniel swallowed hard. "I can't give him more." Her eyes held his. "Maybe you don't have to do it alone." The boy looked up between them, sensing something unspoken. His small hand reached out and caught Olivia's fingers. "Don't go," he murmured. The words froze Daniel where he stood. He looked at his son, his whole world, and then at Olivia, standing there in the morning light, rain still glistening in her hair. Something broke open inside him, not with fire or fury, but with the quiet weight of truth. Maybe she wasn't just gratitude. Maybe she wasn't pity. Maybe she was the first real chance at healing he'd been too afraid to hope for. Daniel bent down, kissed his boy's head, and when he rose, his eyes met Olivia's without the shield he'd always carried. "All right," he said softly. "But we do this my way, slow, for him." She smiled, tears brimming. "Slow is fine." The city roared awake around them, carriages clattering, voices rising. But in that small corner, a single father and a billionaire woman stood together, bound not by money or power, but by a quiet promise of something worth building. And as Olivia's hand stayed in his, Daniel realized he hadn't just saved her that night. Somehow, she had saved him too.